Let's cut to the chase. If you want to get ahead as a creator in 2025 and build a cult-like audience, generate a life-changing income, and actually have an impact on the people you make content for, you need to build a compelling personal brand. I used to be a full-time video editor, and I actually got that job off of my personal brand. He hired me after seeing my content, and my client was not a large creator by any means. He had under 100,000 YouTube subscribers. And what blew my mind is when he told me how much he was making a month, and it was over $50,000. And that was the moment I realized, oh, there are levels to this shit, and I have no idea what's going on. Because up until that point, I thought personal brands basically equaled famous people, celebrities. You had to have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers. You had to get millions of views. But no, I realized that wasn't the case. And from that moment on, I was placed on a path that not me, but other people are calling the path of the new rich going into 2025. And because of this path, I now have over 200,000 subscribers on my main channel. I have a full-time income from a business I built off the back of my personal brand, and I no longer have to stress about view counts or algorithms or anything like that, because I've built a pocket within my audience that are cult-like followers that are gonna watch my content, support me, and support my business ventures. So I will never have to go back to working a regular job or freelancing for other creators again. And you contrast that to the majority of creators that have an extremely weak personal brand, and that is basically a ticking time bomb. You are constantly relying on high view counts to make a livable income, if any income at all. And if you do succeed in getting views, they're not sticking around, they're not clicking any links in your descriptions, they're not leaving comments, or most of the time even subscribing. And finally, you have no real impact on the audience, thus you're really not making much of an impact on the world. And this goes beyond getting some views and making some money. My personal brand has opened up so many opportunities and relationships. One of my best friends to this day, who I've gone on numerous trips with, who's introduced me to so many friends, because he's a very successful multimillionaire entrepreneur, and he introduces me to like-minded friends. And those friends are interested in me, and I get this status boost within my circle because I have a personal brand. And that is one of the most valuable digital assets to have if you are a creator type. And unlike the majority of personal brand gurus online, I learned by actually building a personal brand, talking about things I'm interested in. So here are 5 psychologically proven tactics to build and strengthen your personal brand. And I'll let you know now, the last 2 are controversial, but they are the most powerful tactics that your favorite creators are using, but will never admit it. So I used to be in this private community for creators with over 100,000 followers or so, and I remember one time I recognized a name that popped up in the chat, and it was a name of a creator in my exact niche. This creator's actually taken thumbnail inspiration from me before, and he was a much bigger fish than me, to be honest. He had over 3 times the amount of subscribers as me. He had over 3 times the amount of views that I had. So you can imagine my shock when I saw his post in the chat, and he mentioned the income that his brand generated, and it was $1,000 to $2,000 a month. Keep in mind, this creator has almost 1 million subscribers and pulls in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views a month. And I was confused because I'm making multiples more than him while having a fraction of the subscribers and views. But at the time, I couldn't quite put my finger on why that is. And I didn't make the connection until down the line, I saw something similar happen with my friends who had massive short form followings. And when I talked to them about their businesses, because one of them had a full coaching business and the other ones were trying to launch businesses selling products off of their personal brands, they were nowhere near where they'd like to be. In fact, the physical product ones were struggling to make a business that would actually stick and get sales. And the friend who had the coaching business was making a fraction of the monthly income that he should when he's getting that many eyeballs on him. And in that moment, I realized the connection between all these creators that I've seen that get views and yet have no impact and have to rely on ad revenue to survive. And that was that they did not have an audience avatar, meaning a hyper-specific avatar that you have, that when you make content, you are speaking to that exact person every single time. Therefore, all the content you make is put through the lens of this avatar. This is why people like Sam Sulek, Hamza, Andrew Tate, like him or not, blew up when their brands got exposed to the world, because they were speaking to a hyper-specific person. That's why when these viewers watch, they're like, oh my gosh, this is my guy. This is made for me. And you don't even have to get numbers like these guys. I've seen this work on small scales. These guys build, maybe 10,000, 5,000, 50,000 subscriber profiles, channels. And because they specifically know who they're talking to in their content, one, they get very consistent view counts compared to people that go for virality, and it's a video pops off and then a 10 out of 10 10. Then a video pops off and then a 10 out of 10. And 2, they make crazy money, whether it's affiliate marketing for other companies, whether it's their own coaching services, digital products, subscription services, things like that. I had a friend who had a relatively small niche personal brand, but because he made content for a very specific person, I'll tell you, it was in the fitness realm, a very specific type of male teenage boy that goes to the gym, he was pulling in anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a month. In business, this term is known as the ICP, an ideal customer profile. This is the person that you made your entire offer or product, course, coaching, whatever you're selling for. And then you have pretty much anyone that can watch your content. This is known as the TAM, the total addressable market. And I know it kind of looks like a boob, but listen up, this is real shit. And what happens is when you don't have a super specific audience avatar, you either have a way you're trying to monetize for your ICP, but you're so broad and so wide that the likelihood of you even attracting that ICP into your brand is so low, or you don't even have an ICP and you're just getting all these views, which most of the time indicates that those views are low quality. They could be a very young audience, an audience from a third world, and if, for example, you're trying to help people that make 6 figures a month get fit, get healthier, but you're attracting anyone under the sun, most of those business guys that you want to help get more fit are going to walk into your brand's ecosystem by clicking on a piece of content or swiping and seeing it and be like, oh, this isn't for me, and they're going to bounce back out. But here's the thing, even people that kind of understand they need to talk to a specific person and their content makes these mistakes. They just think, oh, I make content for people interested in the things I talk about. Oh, I make content for a past version of myself or people like me. And the truth is, I tell you this from experience, this is just being lazy. So I am going to give you my Notion template to create a hyper-specific audience avatar, easy peasy, step by step. Check it out after this video in the description. So back in 2023, my views went like this, and then they went like this. And for the rest of that year, I was trying to figure out what went wrong. And I realized was that I made a couple videos in certain topic buckets, and then because I made those videos once, I then tried to move on to other types of buckets. And the mistake I was making is that I didn't have content buckets. Because all branding truly is association. When you think of Nike, you think of someone running. When you think of Fiji water, you picture a tropical waterfall. And because of that, it makes connections in your brain. So in the future, when you're like, oh, I want to start running, I need some running shoes, I should get some Nike shoes. Oh man, I am parched. I would love just some refreshing water. Ooh, Fiji. But here's the thing, there are certain people that aren't water enthusiasts. They drink whatever tap water, or they only drink sodas throughout the day. Therefore, that association that Fiji makes isn't really compelling to them, and it's not supposed to be. And that is the same for you. You are going to have buckets of content, which is like buckets of topics that you will speak on, and those topics need to be appealing to your audience avatar. For example, you are my avatar, and I know that you would be interested in personal branding. So that's one of my content buckets to talk about on this channel. I can also safely assume, based on my recent video doing well, that I can talk about being a YouTuber specifically. I can also talk about online business. And then finally, I can talk about content creation itself. And sure, some of the things I talk about will be similar throughout these, but I now have these 4 buckets that I can constantly jump back and forth to when I need to make content. And it would be foolish for me on this channel to then make a video about dieting, because the avatar that consumes all this stuff most likely doesn't want to consume this type of content, and I don't actually want to be associated with this type of content anyways. Does that mean you can't experiment once in a while with topics? No, but I would say only do that maybe one every 5 videos at most, because your brand is in association. So my brand on this channel, I want it to be being successful online, personal branding, YouTube, content creation, starting a solo business online. I don't need you to think about diets when you think about me, even if in my personal life, I try to stay healthy. And I say this because all of the creators I've seen have meteoric rises in their personal brands throughout, a couple months, a year. Maybe they speed run to 500K subs, 1 million subs, or they just get to 100,000 subs, but they're making $100,000 a month on the back end, was because they simply repeated these content buckets over and over. And you may think, oh, but I already made a video about personal brand once, I can't do that again. That is not the case. People need to be reminded about things more than they need to be taught about things. And that's actually the most efficient way to teach people. When you think about Andrew Tate back when he was going on the podcast tours and doing all that, listen, I don't care if you like Andrew Tate or not. He's just a brilliant example of personal branding. He would talk about 3 to 5 core talking points on every single podcast, and they didn't change very much. but he would speak about them from slightly different angles, slightly different stories, slightly different perspectives and metaphors. Therefore, when his fans are 5 to 10 podcasts in, they now have fully ingrained those topics into their brains, and they have fully ingrained Tate's perspectives on those topics, and now they have that association with the topics and Tate. That is brand. But while that alone is good enough to get some viewership, build some momentum on your channel, it's not enough to build a truly cult-like audience that will follow you to the ends of the earth, that will do the things you actually tell them to take action on, whether it's, for example, my main channel is self-improvement, so I want people to take certain actions in their personal lives to lead them to a better life. Or if you're mainly just trying to get traffic to a business and you want them to go click on a landing page and check out your business, then you need a principle number 3, and that is a future vision. Because you and your audience need to be on a constant journey towards some kind of future vision, which also means you guys are trying to move away from an anti-vision, which is basically just the life that they would hate having. For example, if there was a content creator and his main thing was helping basketball players be more athletic, you know, jump higher, dribble harder, be able to dunk the ball, I don't know, you get the point. Then depending on the age group, the future vision would look something like getting signed to a college basketball team, going pro in some type of league, generating money from playing basketball, having social status increase from it, having a cool lifestyle where you travel around playing the sport you love. And the anti-vision of that would be not being good enough, not making the teams, and not getting to live that life. You have to go work a regular desk job somewhere and you'll never get to play your favorite sport again. For example, Aman Gidji, he makes content about how to get rich, and he paints this future vision of having pretty girls that are obsessed with you, of being this well-dressed gentleman, of traveling the world and living in Dubai and having all these cool experiences. And he poises himself as the shaman, the sage, the leader, the savior, the messiah that is going to guide his audience there. And what happens is when you poise yourself as the way for them to get there, it builds a sense of altruism. And what happens is this appeals to ethos, which is one of the core principles of rhetoric, and also one of the core principles of personal brand. This increases trust, likability, authority between you and your audience. And by the way, this is me assuming that you actually do mean the best. You're not some grifter scammer type. So ask yourself, what am I leading my audience towards? What is this core mission that we have and share together? But it is now time for me to tell you the next 2, which are controversial, but they are going to make your brand bulletproof. So what do personal brands like Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Andrew Tate, Donald Trump have in common? And no, this has nothing to do with the fact that they're all conservative leaning, is that they are all polarizing, and they are polarizing because they make contrarian stances. And this is not an accident. This is not, they just happen to be that way. This is completely by design, because what happens is when you are polarizing, when you push away 50% of people that come across you online, you pull the other 50% infinitely closer than just trying to appeal to everyone. And that's because 1, contrarian stances are inherently attention grabbing. They hijack the reticular activation system in someone's brain. But secondly, the people that align with your contrarian stances are instantly bought into your personal brand. Now, I do not advocate for lying or being fake or being far too hyperbolic, but what I found is that you have a truth you believe, and it's on this spectrum of extremity, of polarization. So what your goal should be is get as close to that line as possible without crossing it. For example, a vegan influencer that thinks the world would probably be a better place and people would be healthier if they didn't eat meat. They could say that in a piece of content, and some vegans will align with that, some people will align with that. But if they went further and said anyone who eats meat is a bad person, then that is going to win over their audience avatar, someone who's very much into veganism. I don't agree with that at all, by the way. But that creator has to be certain that where that opinion is, where that take is still within the realm of truth, of honesty. So ask yourself, when you're speaking on a topic, what is a contrarian, polarizing belief you have, and how do you take that to its extreme without losing the inherent truth? And then say it confidently. But there's one more, and this is the most controversial, but damn does it work. It is a universal trait within human nature that we have a desire to belong, because people want to be part of the in-group. Therefore, to play on this psychological need humans have within your personal brand, you need to create an us versus them dynamic. This is why some of the strongest brands are political related, sports teams, religions, or philosophies, because there's inherently an us versus them dynamic. For example, something that I would do within my self-improvement content back in the day is that I would say something like, you're like me, you're ambitious, you want to be successful, you're not like the mediocre masses, or you're not like the NPCs out there in the world. What was I doing? I was inviting the viewer to be part of my in-group. And a bonus tip to play on this even further is to throw stones. And I'm going to show you an example of this being used to perfection by Grant Cardone.
For every problem America's got, China's got 1 billion problems more than we have. They got more debt than we have. They have an aging population that is 8 times bigger than ours is. They have debt problems that are beyond monster issues. They have a middle class that will collapse on itself.
So Cardone knows that his personal brand, his audience avatar, is conservative and not the biggest fan of them, which is China. So what was Cardone doing? He was throwing rocks at China because he knew that by saying that, it was music to the ears of his target audience. But how do you build a business off this? Well, if you click the video on the screen right now, I explain how to make big money online as a small creator. It is the exact strategy that I've done to have a full-time income and completely change my life. Click it on the screen right now. Don't forget about the Notion template in the description. Okay, love you. Bye-bye.